Who pulled up for a catch-up? It's really here from 947 Afternoons. And if you're here, it means you've got taste. Go ahead, enjoy the moment you missed. But don't ghost me. Weekdays, 12 to 3 p.m. on 947. I'm loud and way more fun in real time. And yeah, there's more audio magic waiting for you right here on Prime Media Plus. Your story on 947 Drive
with Thando.
Let's get up close.
Getting up close and personal
With the people behind the stories.
Fridays are my favorite days. I feel like the coolest person on earth because you know the people who walked through these doors. Like I know them personally.
These are your friends.
Like, can you believe it? I can't believe it. And today's guest is one of South Africa's most magnetic forces on screen. She's a woman who's turned resilience into art, presence into power, from the dance floor to dramatic roles that have left the country talking. Her journey is one of reinvention, of courage, and undeniable range. Ladies and gentlemen, Lorcia Cooper.
From the big moments
To the day-to-day grind. Let's go.
we're delving deep into your story on 947 Drive
With Thando.
No, it's not easy, but nothing great in life ever is, right? So I'm Lorcia Cooper Kumalo, and I'm playing the character of Sandra.
If you spent half the amount of time that you do polishing this car on maybe your books or even finding a job.
Ek het ook van die plekke is droog en ek kan niks meer vir julle gee nie. That was shocking. My voice is toast, eh? My voice is toast. Got it. Very husky. Okay.
Let's go. Tell me.
From the big moments
To the day-to-day grind. Let's go.
we're delving deep into your story on 947 Drive
With Thando.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lorcia Cooper. Hello, gorgeous.
Superstar.
You
Oh my
are a
gosh.
superstar.
No. I don't subscribe to that term.
But
at
you
all.
are.
No, I don't feel like that. Like I don't. Yeah, maybe that's my issue.
I mean, no, maybe it's what makes you. I mean, your jaw dropped when the backstage clip
How did you
played.
guys get that?
I mean, it's on the internet.
Is it?
It's on
you
the
gotta
internet.
Show me. You
Guys,
do your
Lorcia's-
own research.
I just want to say, for anyone who's not here, right, Lorcia is so beautiful, man. And we all had a
God
crush.
damn.
I know that
Is this
everyone
an April
had a
Fool's
crush
again?
on
No.
you at
Is
some
this an
point.
April
It's
Fool's
not an
again?
April Fool's. It's a real thing. But I mean, backstage was what, in 2000, the year
Yeah, I was
2000?
21, 22.
I remember, I don't know, Msizi, where you were when backstage
No,
was
he
playing
was
on
6.
ETV.
No, I was definitely watching
You were
every
6.
episode.
6 years old. It's when people say to me, "Oh, when I was in primary school, I watched you on backstage," and now they're like 40, and you're like,
It's probably true.
I remember that show being like a very important part of my life. I think very much of who I am today is because of that show.
Really?
Like you watch like young people in the arts and it looks so cool. And you're just like, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to
It
do.
made you want to move to Joburg.
Yeah.
I remember watching it in KZN and going, ew, I just want to be there.
"That's crazy." So you know who deserves all the credit for that? And I ran into him in a restaurant about 2 months ago, and I literally went up to him at the table. I didn't think that he'd remember me. Was Mr. Mfundi Wundla.
Yeah.
And I said to him, "Sir, I owe you the thanks, the respect, and the honor for how my career has turned out." Because they auditioned dancers all over the country. They then did an audition in Joburg. And when they first called me, I couldn't do the job because I was touring Germany with a contemporary piece. And the line producer and then another producer was calling me. Eventually, they got him on the phone to talk to me to try and convince me to do this job.
Sure.
And I said to him, "But sir, I can't leave this piece. Like I'm touring and it's clashing." And he's like, "Send me the contract." I'm like, "There's no contract. We do, back in the day, we
We
did
just dance.
word of mouth. Like, yeah, your word, my word, we good." And he was like, "No, but then you don't have to go." And I was like, "No, I do, because I don't know what this thing is that you're talking to me about.
Yes.
Like, I don't know what it is. And if I have to come back to the dance industry, I don't want my name to be tarnished because I've really built it now. Like, my career is good. I'm working 18 hours as a dancer. I'm working more than any other dancer at the time. I was doing corporate work and I was doing theater work." And he said to me, "But this is a national television opportunity. I'll never forget this." I said, "Sir," and I don't know who he is, right? Because what do I know of TV?
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Sir, I don't really know what that means, but I feel like if this is meant for me, it'll come back." That's what I said, right? Because integrity leads. And I'm so glad that that's how my mom raised me, because these days it's like if a better job comes up, you'll just drop someone. Everything's about you. It's about your clout, your brand. And so a lot of people are losing, I suppose, loyalty with each other and integrity with what they assign themselves to first, because there's better opportunities. It's not always about better. It's about what was your agreement.
Yeah.
You know, who are you honoring? It's not just about honoring a bank balance and your brand. And so 3 months later, they called me back and they were like, you're on. He didn't cast a Charmaine. He waited for me.
Hectic.
Wow.
So Mr. Wundler deserves all the credit for that. And
Yeah.
I'm always so humbled and I'm so appreciative that I can give him his flowers on a platform like this, especially since he was on your show not so long ago.
I think it's so beautiful that you acknowledge that also two truths or two ideas can coexist.
Absolutely.
Right? So we can say we didn't agree with this, but
Yeah.
this is the great that you did
Yes.
do. Also, at the time, I don't think anybody understood the gravity of what backstage
No.
would be for a generation of young artists.
Right. I don't even think we did. So, and I think because I started there in my career, it's always been about the work. It's like what I'm doing at the time, I need to honor the most, right? And so for me, it's not about when you say, oh, superstar. I don't view myself on a show like that. I'm on Paradise. I'm on SABC2
Yes.
at the moment.
Yes, so
I'm
give it some horns.
I'm plugging 7 p.m. Monday to Friday. Everyone wants a slice of Paradise.
Yeah.
So even on that, I'm a lead on the show. And for me, it's not about being the lead. It's about what is the quality of your work? How are you honoring people's stories? How are you using this platform to impact lives, to give someone a moment that when they're watching you on screen, they can transcend their problems, their hardships. For that moment, can you allow them to escape, to feel? Can you reflect them in the story? Can you give them understanding for maybe a situation that they're experiencing in their lives? And that's the thing about storytelling, is that we think we're just telling a story. No, this story is similar or like someone else's story out there, and it's our responsibility to carry that with integrity.
Yeah.
You don't just tell a story because it's a job. And so that's why I don't do that whole superstar thing, because it's about honoring the work.
Would I be correct in saying that Paradise is your first lead role on television?
Yep,
that is mind-blowing.
It's the first time in my career that I'm number one. Even I haven't been number 2, I haven't been number 3. Tyson was number 4 in the first season of Lockdown. Then they went to number 5 and number 6. So this is my first lead role in my career.
That I find crazy. Why do you think it is?
I mean, when you're a lead on a show, I don't think it's about you being the star of the show.
course.
The responsibility of leading a cast and a crew comes with a lot of you being aligned with how you want to lead. It's not about, I'm going to be the face of this. No. How do you lead? How do you show up for work? How do you treat the crew? How do you treat the cast? How do you allow the cast to have synergy so that this works? It's not just about the work. It's also what happens outside of the work, when you're sitting in the green room, when you're talking to. So it's about the example that you set, and then carrying the load of the amount of work that number one is. Number one is really just you have the most amount of scenes. You
number
drive
one
the
means
story.
number
You
one
work.
means you working.
You're working.
But what I'm trying to get at is, of all these years, do you think there's not enough stories? And I know you're very vocal and
Yeah,
passionate
yeah.
about this. Is it that there hasn't been enough stories around colored people in South Africa to allow you to lead?
absolutely.
Because there's no other reason why you wouldn't be a lead.
No, I absolutely think that that's one of the reasons why. I do also feel like sometimes we tell stories and they aren't necessarily culturally specific, but we're still casting the same people. And so anyone could have told the story, but we've made up our minds that this is the person we want, and that's okay. It's all fair, that's what the game is. But definitely the marginalization of colored stories and colored people on a whole as a community has obviously has played a part in that. But I do think that more than that, if I had to speak from my truth, I don't think that Lorcia was ready to lead as number one before this. It requires a sense of alignment. I don't just want to lead and it's another show. I wanted to speak of, and I say this to the cast on Paradise even, when we're in interviews, we should be happy to say, I love my cast,
Yeah.
and not say it so that it's good for marketing. Like really mean it. I love going to work. And we love going to work because that's what we're consciously creating all the time. And that starts from the top down.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I know it was God ordained because it's not just about how good the product looks. It's how good the product feels. There are shows we go onto and we can't wait for the job to finish. And for me, that's not what I want my story to be.
All right, we're going to take it back from the beginning. We're going to see where Lorcia comes from and how we ended up where we are today. We're in conversation with incredible Lorcia Cooper, actress, dancer, long before all of South Africa was fixated with you on this show. Hey. Do people still call you Shamed?
Yes.
To this day?
To this day. Even today, I was at an event and they're like, Charmaine. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I've done no other work, clearly.
But I mean, no. Your resume is endless. But let's start from the beginning, right? Let's start from the beginning. Acting wasn't really part of the plan.
Not at all.
You were a dancer.
Listen, I only had dance on my mind. And there was no other dream for me. I was just going to be the most incredible, most successful South African dancer. That was it for me. And that's where I was heading. And so when Backstage came along, I had no acting experience. I did one play at school.
Sure.
And I got there on the Friday and I needed to be on set on the Monday. And they were polite enough to take me on set and just introduce me to people. And then they made me watch a scene. And people were talking about hitting marks, you casting a shadow.
And you're like, what are you talking
the hell
about?
are they talking about? What does that mean?
Please square
And
up.
like, I don't even know how to learn lines. And so I really learned on the job. And I made it my mission to be excellent at that too. I just took the same passion and the same kind of discipline and dedication I had with the dance, and I just put it on the acting. That's why I think like extramurals are so important. They build, you know, the disciplines and the values that kids carry with them into other things. So I just did that.
But how did dance come about, right? So 4 years old, you enrolled in ballroom and Latin dance
Yes,
lessons.
because my brother's dance partner dumped him, and I'd been practicing their steps behind them, every lesson they had. And then she left him, and my gran was like, "You're up." And I'm like, "No, Ma, I don't want to." Let me do the accent. "No, Ma, I don't want to do this."
Yeah.
"Ma, no." She looked at me, pulled me, and she was like, "Je gaan die doen, okay?" And I was like, "Okay." And then we won our first comp, and then at 8 years old, my dance teacher, Debbie Turner, had discovered me, and that's how I got into modern dance. And my dance teacher drove 34 kilometers to fetch me for dance 2-3 times a week, because we moved from living close to the studio, and my mom said to her, "Listen, we're moving, so Lorcia's going to have to quit dancing." She's like, "There's no way."
Where did you move to?
So from Heathfield to past the airport, like Easter River. So if you know Cape Town, it's like 45 kilometers from where...
What was the Easter River like?
It's the cut. I mean, you know, we lived in an area called Blue Downs. So it was single standing homes, but it was still a colored community. And it was a colored community that at the time was better than living in the flats.
You lived in the flats?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I lived with my gran in Tafelsig for a really long time, with about 15 other people in a house. And that was an interesting experience, because I think there's a part of knowing that life that'll always keep me humble, because I won't ever forget where I came from without making it an excuse for behavior that's not sound. I think we have circumstances in our lives that shape us, and we either allow that to make us or break us, you know. And I think a lot of us have this victim mentality that we struggled, and so now we can't rise. I think I've always been the phoenix that's not rising. I'm always risen.
Yes,
I'm always like, this is it. It's up to me.
Explain to us what living in a house with 15 people is like. Like, what does it look like?
I mean, it looks like 3 double bunk beds in a bedroom, and you're sleeping head to toe.
Is that what do you think informed your explosive performance on lockdown? Because as soon as you say bunk, right, and then you bring
see,
it.
Thando, you with your questions. Yes, sis. Like, yeah, you're so leading. You're so good at what you do. You know, I'm a fan. Like,
You're digressing.
No, I am, but I'm coming back to it. I am. I'm your diehard fan. I don't think there's anyone I know who's so humble, works so hard, and deserves their success more than you do.
This is your story, Lorcia.
Yeah, like
Humble.
totally.
Humble.
This is out of this.
Sorry, let me shut off the mic.
Yeah, we're not doing an acting segment now. So I think you should just sit there, watch my side profile, please.
It took you there, didn't it, Lorcia? It took you back.
I mean, so the interesting thing about Tyson was, every character who was like Tyson in my community, I taught myself to hate them. So from very little, I'd say from about 8, 9 years old, gangsters, drug dealers, drug users, I despised them. They disgusted me, and I allowed myself to be so disgusted by them, so aggravated, so angry, that I was repulsed by them. And so I made myself really hate my environment, and for the cause of surviving it and wanting to leave it, I think in environments that are not necessarily going to realize your dreams, if you get comfortable there, you'll stay there. And so for about 10 years, I just kept telling myself how much I hate being there. And then when I turned 18 and I joined my first dance company, all that aggression was still there. And in my first year in my company, I just got into so much trouble because someone would give me a correction and be like, don't tell me what to do. Like, it was very, very aggressive because that's how I survived. And then I had to unlearn that way of being because my environment had changed. So I don't need to hate everything around me anymore. And that was a shift. That was a huge shift. I remember as a child, at the age of around 12, I just decided I'm not going to cry anymore.
Sure.
And so...
What is it that happened that made you decide you're not going to cry anymore?
Because it made me feel weak. And in my environment, I couldn't be weak. I needed to be hard. And so when I had to play Tyson...
I'm sorry to cut you. I think we speak of the Cape Flats, right?
Yeah.
But for people who haven't lived there before,
Sure.
when you say you couldn't cry, you had to be tough.
Yeah.
What is it that you were fighting against as a 12-year-old?
Here's the thing, right? People always go, colored women are crazy. We've all heard it, right? Like, let's be honest. People go, colored women are crazy. The thing that we don't understand is that colored women are the leaders in their communities because their men were subdued with alcohol and mandrax. So if your man's not there fighting for your family, the woman has to do it. If your child is sitting with a gangster or a drug dealer in a drug house, the woman is going, stop it. You're not going to take my child. It's not the man doing it because they're either intoxicated or they're not there.
Yeah.
And so that aggression or that kind of masculine energy that you feel from colored women, it's because we lead in our communities because we didn't have the support from our men necessarily in that way because the system designed it that our men wouldn't be able to fight for us. And so it's not that colored women are crazy. It's just that our survival mechanisms are different. If a guy steps up to you in the Cape Flats and he says to you, oh, you look cute, you got to come with something so hard, so aggressive that it makes him go, otherwise you look weak. You know, it makes him step back and go, oh, this one I need to leave her alone. She's going to come for me. You know, at the age of about 12, my brother taught me how to fight. And he taught me how to fight because one day this story, when I told my brother the story about a year ago, he cried on the phone. Someone had tried to press me up against a wall. I managed to escape. I was a 100-meter sprinter. I could run really fast. And I ran home. And on my brother's way home from school, someone else had told him, hey, this guy tried to press up on your sister, but she got away. He got home. And he said to me, I heard that you got away. And I was like, yeah, I was so excited, right? So I was like, yeah, I did. I got away. I felt so proud. He's like, go take off your school clothes and put on tracksuit pants. And I was like, what's going on? Are we going to play soccer? And I was so excited. And he comes into my room. He's like, are you ready? And I'm like, ready for what? And he starts punching me and beating me. And he's like, get up. And he's like now starting to scream, right? And he's getting really aggressive. I'm like, why is my brother doing this? He's like, I need you to fight. I need you to fight. And I'm going and he punches me and I'm not understanding this. And he punches me and I fall to the floor and I get up and I start crying. He's like, don't cry. You have to fight. And I deck him and he goes to the floor. He gets up and then he kicks me in the stomach. I go flying against the cupboards. I'm out of breath. He's like, you need to get up now. And then I get up and I continue fighting and then he stops. And he goes, next time, you're not going to be able to outrun them. He goes, you need to know how to do this. And you need to know how to do it like a man. So these are the optics we talk about, right? And since that day, I knew how to fight.
Yeah.
And so a lot of, even when I look at Tyson, people think that role was good. It was hard for me. I had to play everything I hated as a child. Everything I judged as a child, everything that I had to beat up as a child. I mean, I used to beat up guys because I'm like, I'm not getting violated by you. So that for me was Tyson was an evolution for me. It wasn't just me playing a role. It was me also going, how do I understand this person better? My brother saved my life because I would have been a statistic. He saved my life.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
I was a pretty colored girl with straight hair who had a great body, and I was a target.
You now a girl mom.
Yeah.
On the back of that.
Yeah, I am.
How do you approach being a mom today, having experienced what you've experienced?
I think, the thing I hold myself to with my kids is that I remember who they are rather than who I wish for them to be. They didn't grow up with the same optics as I did. Mm-hmm. And so I always remember that they have their journey. Being a girl mom in this country especially is so daunting. When you're teaching your kid about not going to the toilet by herself from the age of 4, you're teaching her about how bad the world is while you're telling her that the world is a beautiful place. And it's so contradictory. And you're having to tell her now, she's 18, and I'm like, when you go out, you can't even leave your cool drink. And if you do drink this, you can't do this. You can't. Like, your information is more about her protecting herself because you live in an environment where women are hunted daily. And so it's scary. However, I don't allow my fear to override my faith and my educating of my kids,
We're in conversation with Lorcia Cooper. If you've got questions for her, give us a call. It's your story. Lorcia Cooper is our guest today. We're just talking off air, and you were saying how when you'd walk back from school, you would time the different places that you're in on your journey.
Yes. Yeah. So there are places like, so when I turned 13, I moved to a school in the CBD so that I could take public transport to and from dancing. Mm-hmm. So I would leave home at 6 in the morning and get home at 9 at night, opposite 8, 9, summer, winter, doesn't matter. And when they dropped me on the corner, and it was so beautiful, I remember this so distinctly, people on the bus started knowing me so well that if I was 2 minutes late, the bus would wait for me.
Sure.
If I ran out of clips on my card, the conductor would just clip it on the same thing because he knew that we couldn't afford it, right? Or the nurses who were on the bus, because I used to travel from Groote Hospital to get home. But I would take a bus from dancing to Groote Hospital, then from Groote Hospital, another hour to get home, right? And the nurses would make sure that all my things are packed nicely, and then I would do homework, and then they would tell me to sleep because they knew I was a scholar. So I'd sleep on the bus, and then someone would be assigned on the bus to wake me up when it's my stop. And so those memories are beautiful to me. But the minute I got off the bus, there was a section, there was a big open field, like bushy section. And I would walk and gain my momentum and my energy. And as I hit the first part of that field, I would sprint it just in case someone was there and they were timing me, because my times were so regular that I'm like, someone's going to time me, something's going to happen here. I would run.
I joked and said, that's why colored people run so fast. But like the fastest athletes in my school were always colored people.
I mean, we're running from bullets and stuff too, I mean, come on.
We've got Iris on the line. Iris, good afternoon.
Hi there, how are you, Thando?
Fantastic. Talk to us, Iris.
Good. I'm also a colored girl from the Cape Town, so I'm relating so much to Lorcia's story. And it's coming from a lot of admiration. I'm a huge fan of hers. I've been following her from, all the shows on TV, and, I know her dance history background as well. And basically, as a colored girl from Cape Town living in Johannesburg as well, I just wanted to know from her how with all these
Iris. Oh no, okay. I think what she's asking is, how have you adjusted living in Joburg in terms of community after having lived in the Cape Flats, or how did you adjust?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because a lot of people struggle to adapt to Joburg, right? My comfort wasn't as important as my dream. So it wouldn't have mattered what discomfort or displacement, I suppose, I would have felt in Joburg, because I had a goal.
What displacement did you think you would feel?
I mean, leaving your entire family. I have absolutely no one in Joburg. Like, I didn't have an aunt, a cousin. So when I came here solo, all alone. And so I think there's always that comfort of like, I can go to my aunt, I can go to my mom. And that wasn't an option for me. Like, if you can't pay the rent, you're getting kicked out. There's no aunt to go to. And so I think I was really driven by the fact that I had a vision for my life and I was going to see it through. And I feel personally, the integration in Joburg is my vibe.
Yeah.
I feel like Cape Town's beautiful and it's scenic, but I think that people who are struggling in Cape Town are really struggling, and it's for tourists. And so we're still selling properties that outprice the local man. We're still selling the land. We're still selling to Europe and to the US and anyone who has better currency than us. And a local person can't buy a property, or very few can buy a property in Camps Bay, for example, And in Joburg, I feel like I have the opportunity, regardless of my color, to break ground. And so I knew that Joburg was the place where I needed to be for that, because I didn't want to be the person who needed to apologize because I come from the Cape Flats.
Do you feel like you have to explain yourself more than, say, a black person or a white person as a colored person? I feel like we need to have these conversations.
Yeah.
I feel like there's colored people feel unheard.
Yeah.
They feel like their stories aren't told.
Absolutely.
We're not asking the questions that we should be asking.
Because we don't want to answer we don't want to ask the questions because, well, when we know the truth, we're going to have to change some of our thoughts, right? We're going to have to change how we've put certain group of people into a box because it's convenient to think that they're that way. If the number of deaths or murders that are reported in any colored community, it's probably about 90% are not reported. I know 2 women at the moment who I work with on set who are call actors or are background who have lost their sons like in the last year. And I'm just like, we don't hear about that, right?
Yeah.
And I think the reality is that we don't want to have these conversations because the truth might be something that gives us clarity and makes us go, oh, we should really be doing something about this.
Yeah.
The colored community is not, it's not a story. It's real. When the lights go off, remember back in the day when you used to play outside, the lights go on and then we have to get back inside. It's still like that in the Cape Flats. You don't go out in the dark. No, you don't. It's dangerous. You don't walk on that turf and you don't walk on that turf and you rather walk the long way around. That's what colored communities even today are facing.
Yeah, a scary truth to hear. We are in conversation with Lorcia Cooper. It's the Alan Brax running today's Vava's J track as selected by Lorcia Cooper.
And I'm sure that was the best song this week.
No, best song ever, not just this week. Released in the year 2000. It's also the year in which local government elections were held. There was also a peace agreement in Ethiopia and Eritrea at the time. Big Brother debuts on television in the year 2000. And the 2000 Sydney Olympic Games took place. Also, remember in 2000 we thought like the world was going to come to an end.
Yes, we did.
And this is the report the day after Y2K.
So, what's the first thing that you did this morning after? Did you stay up and celebrate all night long?
Yeah, up till like 3:30, and then I took a cat nap. Woke up at like 5, 6. And then this morning I woke up and opened a bottle of Pepsi.
What did you do this morning?
I opened a bottle of Pepsi and started drinking some Pepsi because I was so tired.
So tired?
Yeah. Couldn't find Coke or anything.
Were you worried about any Y2K disasters or anything like that?
No. I thought it was a big joke. It's going to happen next year.
Yeah. Why do you think it's going to happen next year?
Because nobody's expecting it.
Well, we're so glad that it didn't happen. And today you play Rochelle Boyson's in Paradise.
Yes, I do. Paradise. What an amazing show. It's the first of its kind on free-to-air TV. It's a show that I'm so proud of because, before, as Afrikaans-speaking colored people, we used to have to polish up our Afrikaans so that it's clean and palatable to an audience. And we don't speak Afrikaans like that in our communities, in a lot of our communities. And also our Afrikaans dialects are very different in different areas of South Africa. And this show represents dialects from all over South Africa. So I speak in like a Cape Colored accent. Someone else speaks in a Northern Cape accent. Someone speaks in a Joburg dialect. And that for me is the beautiful thing because it is really representative of colored people.
Yeah.
It's not just the story about how colored people struggle. It's, yes, the struggle, but what is the victory in the struggle? So while the show is about challenges, it's also about hope. And that for me is beautiful because I hope that people of all communities are inspired by the fact that it's not about your circumstances, it's about the choices that you make for your life.
There's so much I wanted to talk to you about. I mean, there's so much to talk to about. We didn't touch on Sandra Stain and her watching and touching herself in Fatal Seduction.
Why did you put it like that?
We didn't talk about how afraid you were to tell your kids about the show and that you were on the show.
That was a biggie.
It's my last question, but you have to keep your answer short. So
okay.
What did you say to them?
I said, so I waited until I knew when it was going to be released. And I was like, guys, listen. So I'm on Fatal Seduction because I wanted to know how far I can extend myself as an artist. I wanted to know what I could do beyond just what's safe. I wanted to represent women who are older and what their bodies are like and owning that and really just immersing myself in a role as a woman rather than just as a mom, as a wife, as a this, as a daughter. Who am I? How far can I go with this? And their responses were, Mom, we've always trusted what you do. Why would it be any different? How do you feel about this? Do you feel like your work's good? I said, yeah. And they were like, well, then that makes us happy.
Well, you've trusted what you do all your life for as long as, you know, we have had the honor of being able to watch you on our televisions. I can't believe I know you personally. Like, I got to work with you for the first time on a little show called Housekeepers. And I was, imagine working with your heroes. Imagine.
No, let me tell you a story. Thando used to come off radio and come film on that show, right?
Yeah.
And she'd show up as her full self every single time, even if she was exhausted, because you know she hustles. She has a million things going on. And I remember her coming onto set and just delivering. And on that set, I said to her, I've never met someone who is so excellent at every single thing that they do. You inspire me so much. We're always thinking that older people inspire us. You're younger than me. And I look at you and I'm like, she inspires me. She makes me go, Lorcia, why aren't you reaching further? She has fears too, but she goes, I'm not going to give in to my fears. And that is the testament of your life, Thando.
Lorcia, it's your story.
And it's yours too. And I thank you for being a pivotal part in my life. Someone who I look at, and when I look at your stories, I'm like, she's done another thing. She's done another thing. And it's not that you don't have fear. It's just that you choose faith and trust over your fear.
But you need to recognize you're fearless too. You've depicted it in the stories that you've shown us and shared with us today. You continue to be fearless. You continue to break boundaries. You continue to go to dark places when necessary, but continue to be such a light in everyone who has the honor of walking your path. Thank you so much, Lorcia, for sharing your life with us. Ladies and gentlemen, the incredible Lorcia Cooper.
Your story on 947 Drive
With Thando.
Let's get up close.
Getting up close and personal
With the people behind the stories.